if you don't see recording in progress, and if you don't see something, then shout. This is okay. Do you see the slides now?
Yeah, that's starting to show. It usually takes a second, but we can see you.
The screen sharing is paused. Why is that? Anyway, I resume share, okay. Yeah. Now I'm screen
Yeah,
sharing.
we can
Yes.
see you.
Good. Okay. The first is a little thing that the presentation is not a substitute for sworn auditor or attorney's consultation. You can use this presentation for an inside tips and tricks, but there are some things in even which some of the auditors and accountants they differ these opinions on. But this is a practical know-how how to do things from my point of view. And the second is please turn off the so-called Northern European, because Northern European sits like this. If you see me now, and doesn't ask questions, just nods the head and understands everything. But then in the end, well, there are not so many million euros of worth of businesses, and only now we finally got our first unicorn, which is a billion euro worth company. But this is why you can ask questions. You can unmute your microphone and tell Davis, I don't understand this. Please go through again. Few facts about me. I'm 30. I'm not married. I'm addicted to coffee. I'm Rick and Morty and South Park fan. I have a black cat Eva at home. I'm agnostic. I prefer iOS. I listen to alternative rock, but not only. I doesn't like cooking. I drive an Audi TT and a Honda Hornet. So I'm just sharing all this information to me to cross it off the interest list. My background is that that I was studying at the Stockholm School of Economics and Business, and I started working at big companies. But then in 2014, I understood that these big companies is something that my heart doesn't belong to. So I started working in startups. And the first startup, it bankrupted after 6 months. So if you're also looking to work in startups, you know that the startups can raise money and then the money ends and then you are unemployed again. But still, out of this, if you're trying in entrepreneurship, there's the saying that either you will win or you will learn. There's no lose. And I can tell that I have learned a lot of things. And then my life turned one way, that there was a vacancy open at the Student Business Incubator of University of Latvia, which kind of changed my approach. How I was working with young entrepreneurs. We were hosting events, and not with lecturers, but with practical entrepreneurs who were sharing their stories. We shared, I don't know, 50 per year or something, like once per week there was an entrepreneur sharing the story. And you can also use, once we're out of the pandemic, this innovation stand, which is a project that we organize, that you can use your project to expo at Riga Plaza and get feedback from Latvians. And we were laughing that if you get good feedback from Latvians, it means that your product is so good that you will be able to export it. Because Latvians, we are very critical and we don't like each of the products, but something special. And before you start business, I have very important next slide, which is about all the possible help which you can get when starting your own business. So with help and without help, and with help meaning like incubators and meetups and lectures and help and mentors. So without help, you will go like this. This is how starting a business would normally look like. And here on the other side is how is to start a business with help. So you can see that you're still super hard. And all the mentorship and help and lectures is just this helping hand which can help you move through down the aisle. And this entrepreneurship, it's being evangelized like everyone should start their own business, but people stop and think, and what needs to be thought about is that there is no harder choice than starting our own business. Everything else in the career path is easier. And then my life ended that not my life ended, my my voyage stumbled upon a co-working place, Tech Hub, where I was a managing director for 1.5 years. And also people were sharing and exchanging ideas. And this is how a software developer co-working space looks like, that there's the software developers crawling inside the city. Definitely have ping pong table, and we were hosting many meetups. I think it was 100 per year, seminars and meetups to help young entrepreneurs grow. But again, this is how you can start with Tech Hub, and not that many successful, like really successful projects have come out even from Tech Hub, because entrepreneurship is hard. And then people ask me, how did I come up with my business idea that I've been working my own for the 4th year? I don't have a boss, I am my own boss. So when I was working at the business incubator of University of Latvia, I had the same question as you. So I had the budget where they wanted to hire me, and that was pay your own taxes. So in 2015, if I was employed, I would pay about 43% of all taxes of the budget I was allocated. Whereas if I registered as a micro enterprise, which is that time you could do a limited company with, I would pay 9%. So you can see it's almost 5 times less taxes just by legally optimizing. This is what also you can explore. Just don't accept any employment offer if you can structure your taxes yourself. And as a contractor or self-employed person, you can choose whatever you want to do. And it was more radical 6 years ago, but now it's, I will show you what is the difference now. So there it was 5 times. Now I also registered a SIA or the LLC, and even I, then I'm pretty good with paperwork, it took me 2 weeks. So I understood, well, before I understood that I can make a business out of it, very many people asked me how to register a company, and all the student business incubator members who also wanted to register a company, everybody asked me, so how to register a company? This was going on for 2 years or something, and then I understood, what if I launched a website where I can sell my own services? And if you see analogies with what you can do as well, you can sell services in a niche, and you have a chance of selling the services to real clients. My goal was not to help my peers and colleagues and mates, but to also help people from outside my circle, from Google or from Latvians I know in other cities that I don't know. And this came to reality. And I recommend that you set up a page on business.google.com. And this on the right side, if you can see there, it is a free of charge. Even it is almost like an advertisement. But if you play around with search engine optimization well, you can get your own business on the right side of the Google search results. And if you even haven't launched a business, you can have a nice chance of expoing right there. And I also launched a project where I can alter existing companies, which means that if you have a problem of registering, I don't know, 10% of your company to a co-founder, then you can reach out to me, and I will not register a new company, but I can change existing ones. And currently I have enough to keep me entertained for a while. In 2019, I registered, what was it, 143 companies. Year of the crisis, it was a bit less, but about 120. And this year I'm up to about 80 or so, which is still crawling out of the crisis, but I have stuff to do. So now we will go through a bit of data with the registration process of e-signature versus notary office, about what is the suggested starting capital of the company, what is the business bank account, and what is the best tax optimization for the LLC. And then in the Q&A, which is the extended part, we can talk about your particular questions and answers, because if we have many architects and service providers who don't earn thousands of euros, then maybe even not the LLC, but the self-employed is better. But I prepared these, I prepared a presentation which would happen if you have a lot of money and you would optimize with an LLC. The first thing is that last year in 2020, 93.3 out of all commercial register entities were SIA or LLCs. This is a Northern European phenomena because, for example, in Germany, other types of companies are more also prevalent, but in Northern Europe, it's basically SIA or LLC, and you don't have any other options. The other option is a joint stock company, but that is with 35,000 starting capital and at least 3 council members who is not the board member. And this is a very big project, which is not, well, what this seminar is about. But even 93.3%, like everybody is registering their own SIA in Latvia, even taxi drivers, and that is okay because of all the good things it has. Now, few things, if you're a self-employed or standard discuss that in Latvian versus this LLC, The first step is that if you register as a self-employed, you must understand that you have unlimited liability for your actions. Whereas if you register an LLC, you have limited liability. So it means that if you do something wrong, or if you as an architect break something at the house or whatever, and you lose a suit for €1,000,000, and you did it not on purpose, and you cannot, well, the court doesn't bring it over to the personal liability. As a self-employed, you bankrupt personally, but as an LLC, you would bankrupt only for this limited liability, which is 2,900 and all the assets of the company. But if you don't keep much assets of the company, you can bankrupt easily. And this is this easier and calming situation for many entrepreneurs, that they know that in an LLC, the liability is limited. The second is that, which might interest you, is that if you know clients who wouldn't go to court with you, then it is easier to start and close activities as a self-employed. Yes, and there's zero fees. You just register at the tax employment office, and that is it. Whereas an LLC, you need, well, in most of the cases, you need professional help to register it, because it gets long and tricky, and there are extra fees, but still that is very secondary if you're starting a business. So this registration process, that is not something which you should, well, base your decision on. Now, both of the entities, you must have more than one client, because if you have only one client, especially in Latvia, then tax office auditors might come and say, hey, that is employment, and you are not allowed to register as a contractor. And many people go around it, that once per year they issue invoices to either, I don't know, the mom and dad and the family members. And this was what my accountant told me, so that you cannot optimize with having just one client. So if you are an architect and your client is only one company, then be careful of registering any enterprise instead of being employed there, or you can run into trouble if there's audit or people ask questions. Now, which is most interesting is that with higher income, the taxes for self-employed are higher than for LLC, and this is number one, goal of entrepreneurs, is to minimize taxes. So if you want to minimize taxes, you go for an LLC, and I will show you how to do it, because the corporate income tax now it's a brilliant system, and I will also tell you how it works. Now, and last point is that self-employed is generally perceived as not normal and temporary. So if you issue invoices for self-employed, your clients can be skeptical of what is that an invoice, and I'm paying a private person, and what is that about, especially if that is international invoices. Whereas for an LLC, it is normal to pay a company, you choose your own professional name, and then on the invoice, it's more normal and permanent and professional. And these are the biggest differences between choosing for self-employed and LLC. And the taxes we can go through also in the questions and answer session. Now for LLC, it is interesting in Latvia that both small IT companies, which was one of our members who were asking, or giant telecommunications centers, or giant shopping or groceries chains with 6,000 or something workers, they can all be LLC. So if you have your own one-person company or a 6,000 company, they're both LLC, and both law applies, which means that it is very flexible. So the first, why you should register an LLC is that because it's limited liability and that it's flexible. You can optimize it for one person, or you can optimize it for 6,000 persons. That's okay. And limited in the meaning that unless you explicitly sign for loans that require personal guarantee. So if you want, and I don't suggest, but still, if you go to a bank to take a commercial loan for your business, you will know that the limited liability, the bank will not give the limited liability. The bank will ask for a personal guarantee as the third person who undersigns the loan. So if you want to, I don't know, get a 50,000 loan for the company, the bank will say, yes, okay, but I will require personal guarantee. So this extends over the limited liability. But normally, the liability is limited, and if you lose a lot of business, you can just bankrupt for like €1,500, which is not the end of the world. Whereas if you lose everything personally, that would be the end of the world for 10 years, unless you criminally steal from the company as a board member, which can be proved in court. So then yes, then you're personally liable for the company's expenses, and then that gets in your personal tab. So the registration process, it is straightforward. If you're a Latvia resident, it means that you have a Latvian residence ID card. So you can and should register the company solely with the ID e-signature. If you haven't used it yet, I will explain in a few words what it is. because if you use the ID e-signature, the notary office visit and fees are not required, so you save time. And also there can be mistakes, or even that if you register a new company with the company name and someone else has snatched that name but hasn't yet registered, you need to change all of the documents. And if you register at the notary office and give it in paper, the changes can take up to 2 or 3 weeks to alter. Whereas if you use an e-signature, you can alter the changes in few working days. And of course, you can save money and time because you're not paying to the sworn notaries, you're not going to the sworn notaries, you're not coordinating with the sworn notaries. And I am a bit of a fight with the sworn notaries because notaries just certify your signature and that is it. And an e-signature, it's not that's something which you can paint with your mouse pad or finger. An e-signature is with Latvian, it's inovāciju, which you use your ID card with a USB card reader and PIN codes to make secured e-sign documents. You have Word documents. On top of that, it's encrypted e-signature, which you can not change the document inside, but you can only validate it. And if you haven't used inovāciju, it's a great tool, and all of the Latvia institutions, public institutions, they accept e-signatures, so you don't need to travel anywhere by car, especially if the institution is outside your country or your city where you live in. And if you're not a resident of Latvia, or if your partners are not the residents of Latvia, then sorry, for the next slide, even for non-residents of Latvia, if you have Estonia, Lithuania, and Poland, these signatures, they also work. So if you have partners from Estonia, Lithuania, or Poland, you can ask them to use their country signatures. Germany as well, but they're like Denmark, which then works, and it doesn't. So they're slowly whole of the European Union starts this the e-signature process throughout all of the countries, but currently only about 5 countries I know work. But even if your partners or friends that you know who want to register in Latvia, they're non-residents, they can register with an e-signature for some of these countries. The fees are cheap. So normally, if you are a founder with a personal liability, sorry, with a personal founder without a company being in shares, you can start a company with 20 euros, and that's it now. Or 75 if you register for more capital than 2,100. I will tell about the differences. And that's it, 20 euros, and you can start a limited liability company. This is, I think, the cheapest in the world, because I don't know any country cheaper. In Estonia, it's 119, 190 euros, and let's not talk about all the Western countries where a limited liability company can cost hundreds. Now, if your partners are outside of the countries and they're non-residents of Latvia, then you can also register, but at the sworn notary's office. So you need to go to a sworn notary in person. The notary checks in person all of the documents, or the person goes to the notary outside Latvia and sends you all the documents by mail, and then we can translate and then submit to the register. There's Latvia's notars.lv, which you can look for notaries and call them, because well, this is a nice page, but don't think that these appointment times, they will be actual, because notaries, they don't update this themselves. So it might seem that the notary is available tomorrow, whereas in reality it takes 10 days. So fees, time is money. Notary queues currently are about 10 days, which I don't know, the real estate market is hot, and the real estate take a lot of hours for notaries, because currently it takes like 10 days. It was previously 2 days to sign up. Now it's on top of the 20 euros, it's 37.24 with one founder, and approximately 20 euros for each another. But that is also cheap, but you still need to organize and go to the sworn notary to register just the company in Latvia. On the minimum starting capital, and suggested if you don't have any other companies, it's even €1, so less than 2,800. You can choose to have 100 or 200, but I suggest just to have a company with €1 starting capital, because well, that is the minimum, and that is okay. Now, if you have corporate founders, meaning a legal entity which also registers a company with you, then the minimum with the minimum starting capital, it's the normal one, that's 2,800, and it has to be paid before starting the company. So if you pay €1, you can open a company without a bank account, which is what you should do. But if you have a company that the minimum capital of registration is 2,800, you have to pay the full capital before in a temporary bank account, which is also well, an additional step that you have to make in the process. Now, there's a star there that you can register a €1 capital if any of the founders don't already own a company, which has, well, €1 starting capital, and all the board members of the companies are shareholders. And normally this is true for all the small businesses who start CS, and normally they register with less than 2,800 euros. We can talk about this more in the Q&A section. Now you ask about what is the paperwork. Now the Register of Enterprises website, it has been updated a few years ago, and it is very great. So it is ur.gov.lv. You get all the paperwork. Now it's also updated for English, and you can, well, if you crawl through the paperwork in about 2 to 3 weeks, you could register the company on your own. But I still suggest reaching out to an accountant or me to help file everything, because well, if you don't speak Latvian, it's a pretty tough thing to do. And there's this, if you click down below, you can see for the limited liability company, founding registration in the enterprise register, and there are all the documents that you need to fill and sign and then certify and send, and with the signature and register the company. And if you scroll down, then there are examples of the documents that you need to provide. So you can go through all of the documents and file. For example, here it shows the folio of the shareholders register. You can click on it and fill it, and it is on. Not like 2 months ago, it was updated for English language. Previously, it was only in Latvian language, and if you don't speak Latvian, you cannot do the paperwork. But now it's also uploaded in the English language, so you can check it up with the English language. That is up for the paperwork. It is quite a hassle to do it, but you can technically do it yourself. It just takes quite some time. Now, for business bank accounts, the top tier in Latvia, and it doesn't matter in which bank you open, it's just of your personal preference, is Swedbank, SEB, Luminor, and Citadele. Luminor being the slowest currently of all, but this what also some entrepreneurs have told me. They closed their offices and they don't open instant payments, but still, the financials wise, Luminor's is a rock solid bank and top tier. Now, the thing is that if you have a non-citizen founder, the banks might take a 2,000 to 500 background check fee and not guarantee a bank account opening. Currently, the regulators have been over-regulating banks, and banks are scared, and the bank fees are cheap because, for example, if you run a business with 50,000 euros revenue and many transactions per month, you only pay about 200 euros per year to the bank in fees, and that is not, well, all of the international clients that I have that tell us, what, like banking fees to 200 euros per month per year, that is very cheap for banking accounts. So banks don't want to risk. But if you're Latvian citizen founders, then any of these banks is good. It is a good choice, and they open the bank account for free. And this is why the non-citizen founders, they ask questions on the expat forums or something. Why, like background check fee? What is that? And this is not fair, and yada yada. But banks are very scared now. And the good news is that if the bank goes bust, well, it shouldn't, but if it does, there are guaranteed funds until 100,000 euros. If you keep less than 100,000 euros, it will be guaranteed as long as the whole system doesn't break. It is guaranteed by the government treasury. And you also have fintech options. If you don't want to have a bank in Latvia, there's Wise, which is previously called TransferWise Business Account. There's Revolut Business Accounts, and there's Paysera. And that is an option for less than 2,800 company, which is a normal one. But if you register 2,800, you first have to pay the temporary account balance at the Latvian bank. But if you register a €1 company, then you can open the bank account after registration and top it up with €1 of these Wise or Revolut or business and just bank normally. But I would suggest that if you are based in Latvia, that you'd still open a local bank account, because PayPal and Stripe and whatever merchant for payment you use, they prefer that the bank's legal address is in the country where the limited liability company's address is, and your limited liability company address always will be in Latvia. It means that for these businesses, the address is outside Latvia, and this is what PayPal and they don't like that much. Now, running through taxes, and we don't have that much left in the presentation, but that was all about the registration before the Q&A. And you're one of the favorite questions about taxes. So what to do about taxes? The good news is that for the company, the most important tax, if you have a limited liability company, is the corporate income tax, CIT, which is relatively only 20% from net profit. And once you pay it to shareholders as dividends, as a personal shareholder, your personal income tax in Latvia is 0%. And this is what many of my clients don't believe, that also millionaires in Latvia, they pay only 20% tax, whereas millionaires in Belgium, they pay 50%, millionaires in Finland, they pay 60%, and close to that, and in Denmark, 50%, if they don't optimize. But in Latvia, all the millionaires with big sums of money, it is not progressed, it's always 20%, which is what in OECD wise, the founders of the companies, their top three most happiest tax-wise countries in the OECD countries is Latvia because of this tax. Whereas if you employ employees who are not shareholders, the effective salary tax, it kicks in and shows how Northern European Latvia is, because the effective salary tax for employees is about 45%. So if you want to pay a bit above the average of 1,000 net to your employee, which you want to employ, it in total will cost 1,000 net and about 800 in taxes, which is very high. And plus, it doesn't account for vacations. So you pay the salary 12 months per year, but your employee works 11 months per year. And this is why of these hiring employees in Northern Europe, it's very expensive. So you must make 2.5 times more than you pay to your employees net in order to break even. So you must have a value added for your business, or you can have your employees as shareholders and pay them dividends. If it is a small, I don't know, 3 to 4 person company and everybody is in nice partnerships with each other. So yes, well, 20%, it's much less than 45. So how to optimize for this? So the most effective tax setup, now it will get a bit more in details, but bear with me, so that you register an LLC with at least 2,800 capital, and you put in the articles of association or the statutes in Latvian that you can pay out extraordinary dividends. Extraordinary dividends means that you pay the company dividends out not once per year, but up to 4 times per year. Now, there is no obligation to pay the minimum monthly salary until you reach 2,500 turnover per month. I have been having questions, Davis, what if my company has an empty period of 2 months? Do I need to pay myself a salary, which is high in taxes, and I would lose money? The answer is no. If your turnover is 0 and no one works in the company, you don't have to pay a minimum salary to anybody. The company can just stay idle, which is great. Now, if you reach 2,500 turnover and more, at least one employee of the company needs to receive the minimum salary in Latvia, which currently is 500 gross, which is not even net. And on top of that, you pay 23.59% as employer social tax, which is in total about 630 in all the cash flow, which is about 330 net and 280 in taxes approximately. And this is what you must pay if your company grosses 2,500 and more, which is not mandatory in the first year of registering the LLC. So if you plan on registering the LLC in December, I would suggest that you wait, that you wait until January. I saved my classmate this way last year because he wanted to register a company in December. I think it was 20th of December or something, and I told him wait for January, so that in first year you could pay only 35, this absolute minimum, which is this minimum hours per week of minimum salary, which is like 35 euros per month, which the accountants will guarantee you. So you don't have to pay 280 in taxes. You can pay the absolute minimum 35 euros per month and take everything else rest as dividends, which is great. Now, the extraordinary part about corporate income tax, that is, if you don't pay as dividends, it is 0%. So if you leave it inside the company or pay it as business expenses, I don't know, buy a company car, if you know what I'm saying with that, then the company corporate income tax is 0%. And many people open companies in Latvia because of this. They don't need dividends. They have all other sources of income. They just want that their money sits in Latvia company and is not taxed. This is crazy. This, I don't know, it might change in 5 years or something, but while it is, you can use it, and you don't have to pay anything, because previously, if you read very old blog articles, until January 2018, your net profit would be taxed at 15% every year, whether or not you would pay dividends or not. So if you don't need to pay dividends, previously that well, you would pay 50% anyways, but since 2018, you pay 0% if you don't pay it out as dividends. So corporate income tax is 20%. And on extraordinary dividends, if you don't like loans, we can talk about that in the questions and answers. You can pay out the dividends 4 times per year, maximum 85 from net profit as extraordinary dividend, and pay on it only 20%. This is the optimization, which is the most effective tax setup for a serious LLC in Latvia. Now, nota bene, one thing is that if you are reaching out to some grant competitions or government fund programs, because you have paid out dividends, it can restrict you from competing in some of these competitions because of the rules or the background check what the applicants should qualify for. Some of these smart people, they say that, hey, if your company pays dividends, so it doesn't need any more grants, which is silly. But if you don't apply for government fund programs, then you can pay out dividends very straightforwardly. So long story short, 20%. For example, if your net profit is 1 million, and I wish it was for your company, then you would pay only 200,000 euros as 20%, and you would have, as some of my friends from high school have done, they have 800,000 in the private bank account after all of possible taxes. You don't pay any more taxes. If you see northern countries or the USA or Finland or Scandinavia, no one pays 20% from 1 million. But in Latvia, you can do it. The only hard thing is to earn the million, of course. Now, quick words about LLC accounting is that LLC needs an accountant because accountant keeps track of the double ledger, which is mandatory in the law, which is this virsgrāmata in Latvia, and the double ledger and overall company's health. And if you start without an accountant to keep track of all of your expenses and invoices and everything, you might make expensive mistakes. Now, annual report is mandatory. So once per year, accountants help you file annual report, which is, well, extra expense, but it's worth for the tax optimization. Yes, there are fees, approximately 50 euros plus 1.2 for each invoice or check or receipt or transaction, but it is, well, as I put here, 100 times cheaper than being on your own, because the accountants check your health of the company, they advise something. Normally, once you start a business, accountants in the start, they work more with you, and once you go down the road and you understand more things, then the accountants work with you less. And this is what you want to do. So the accountants, they put you on the right track, and they are also interested that you make more money because then it's higher fees for them and it's nicer for everybody. Now, my recommendation is that you must look for an accountant only through personal recommendations. Don't look on the internet. Ask for your friends and peers who you trust for their experience with an accountant, and then sign the contract. There can be very cheap accountants who will ruin your company, so that is not suggested. Personal, well, my peers have told me so, because there have been 30 euros per month accounting, and then it's everything is wrong. And of course, in Latvia, as all of the countries, first the taxes are in your account, so be on track of your expenses and don't spend tax you owe to the government. Well, unless you run into financial trouble, then you can technically spend tax which you have to pay until next year's April, but still, well, then you have to work harder to get back on track with these questions. Now, before we run to the questions and answers, it's a nice part that the only hard thing about an LLC is to make money, to get clients, and everything else is secondary. So if you focus, and if you are a good service provider, if you have products that people need, then all of everything which I told now, it might sound as a headache for now, but if you run a business, then all of the accountants, they will take care of it, and you will pay optimal tax, and that is it. And that is secondary. Registering the company, getting the VAT number, running your company, showing invoices, paying the taxes, paying your employees, everything is secondary if you have made something that people need, and if you have a niche that that is available and it's not overcrowded by competition. And that's it for the presentation. So I'm now open for questions. And I know that I want, okay, we'll stop screen sharing. That's okay. Yep. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. It was really great. I hope it wasn't for some people that are like, okay, probably I don't need it. I don't want to start a company. Too much stuff to do. But I did write down some questions, but we can organize in a way that if you have a question, you can raise a hand, and then we will basically give you opportunity to ask it to Davis. We will also go through the questions that were submitted before the meetup to the registration form. They were answered. Okay, very great. That's awesome. And you can also write questions in chat if you don't want to speak audibly, and then you can, or you're shy, then you can write the questions in chat. So while you are thinking and finding where is the hand raising button and starting to write them in chat, I will start with a few questions that.
Maybe I can interrupt you because I
Definitely.
understood that there is something I didn't tell one tax plan, because this if you read about so-called micro enterprise tax,
Yeah, let's go to that.
Yeah, for that question, because that is interesting for service providers, because previously if you read okay, I wanted to see myself here on the screen, but that's okay. Because previously, if you read about micro enterprise, you could also have an LLC, which is registered as a micro enterprise, but not anymore. So be careful if you read old blog articles from accountants, if you want to register a micro enterprise, the only option to register. Oh, now I see myself. Now, if you want to register a micro enterprise, the only option is to register as a self-employed, as a saimnieciskās darbības veicējs, and then you can register a micro enterprise, and then the tax it would be 25%, but not from net profit or from profit, which is turnover minus expenses, but from whole revenue. So if you issue an invoice to your client for 1,000 euros for photography services, I don't know, for weddings and stuff, or for architecture service project, you would pay 25% from whole invoice. So if you have hundreds of euros of expenses, you would still pay 250 euros, which is why micro enterprise is good for only service-based businesses without much expenses. If you have a trading company, don't read about micro enterprise because you will just own yourselves money. But if we have small service providers with about 1,000 or 500 euros per month side hustling, then an option of this is to register self-employed with the micro enterprise tax form, which you can do on the tax platform. But be careful if your salary on the other job that you're working at is big, then this tax relief, this neapliekamies minimums, non-deductible income, it is gone. So if you have children or disabled people, or you have something to guard for, then all of these tax relief, they will be gone. But if you are just working at a company, then the difference, it will be like 20 euros per month. That is the only thing. Yeah, so micro enterprise tax, 25% from all of your invoice. That is an option if you are a photographer or an architect, or if you're running a small service provider business. That's I want to answer.
Yeah, we have a first question that is in a typed form. It's about explaining how do business incubators work. I suppose you can do a quick answer, but we will definitely need a meetup on business incubators themselves because there are different levels and forms. But if you have a quick question, we can start with that.
Yeah, or like a quick answer is that you have a business idea and you go to business incubator to seek help, or some of the incubators for the best teams, they even give grants from few thousand euros to tens of thousands of euros. But normally you have a team and you go to a business incubator to help your business idea grow. For example, at the student business incubator of University of Latvia, the rule was that 50% of the teams have to be University of Latvia students. Sorry, 50% of the members of the team. And then every few weeks we had meetups with each other, and we were exchanging information and help, and get the co-working space to help these ideas grow. And this is just the student business incubator, but Latvia has Latvia Investment and Development Agency business incubators, which fund 50% of your expenses up to 100,000 euros. So you can spend 200,000 euros for big projects or machinery and get 100,000 back after a few months. First, you have to finance the project on your own, but get 50% back. This is how, well, the number one thing why people are applying and getting business incubators of whole Latvia by Investment Development Agency, that is the 50% grant. And Kaspars, yeah, from typing, if you can follow up questions about business incubators, yes, but well, for example, the business incubators of Latvian Investment and Development Agency, they need quite project you have been already working on. For example, if you go to a student business incubator, you can get in with just a business idea. But if you go to the investment and development agency, your project needs to be further down the road.
Yeah, given that this meetup is organized by Riga Technical University, I will do a really quick plug that is mandatory for us if this question gets asked. So basically, there are, I think, 8 or 9 programs that are currently running under this Student Innovation Grant program. And for example, Creative Tuesdays is one of them. So our aim is just to bring you knowledge. But there are programs like Idea Lab and Product Development Program that Ah, you see the wrong screen. Oh, that's very sad. That's no problem. We can bring it here. So too many screens is also an issue. So yeah, and basically those ones are quite open for basically for Idea Lab. You just need an idea. For a product development plan, you need the first prototype. And well, they don't give you millions of euros, but you still get a few thousand. And you also, if you are an RTU student, you also get a monthly grant like 250 euros that basically gives you also like actually you are being paid to develop your own company and also given lecturers and experts that help you do it together with you. But of course any incubator is great. The only thing you need to check is whether you are the sole owner of your company. For example, some incubators will take a cut. These programs don't take, at least most of them don't. So you are sole owner, that's fine. You just go through the program here. Anyhow, that was a really quick jumping in. Now I will go back and give the controls to Davis.
Yes, and I see the follow-up question. So what if you're broke? Well, I would suggest to get entrepreneurial experience from selling services, because starting a service business, it doesn't require investment. In my case, the same. These days you can launch a website for, I don't know, 50 or 60 euros. My WordPress theme cost 60 euros, and it was like 10 euros costing. So I made for 70 euros. It was live, and then I get back from the first client what I invested. But if you're, well, it would be interesting for me to hear what's your business idea, Kaspars. Maybe I have some tips. Because for service business, the good news is that you can start your business without investment, relatively speaking. There could be some of your peers or your network, because not, for example, everybody on your Facebook friends are friends, but they're partners and they need your services and they trust you. So why not? Might as well you sell services to them. This is what I also have been doing to some of my friends. I finished a company today for a business friend which I have known since university for 10 years or something, and they need my services because it's quicker to register the company. But if you have a big idea that requires tens of thousands of euros of investment, then the news are not good because investors will ask for the background experience and what have you done before they give you money. And I would suggest that maybe first don't look for, I don't know, 50,000 euros because it's near impossible to get them. I don't know what your experience is, but yes.
IT is a good field, so Casper says that he plans to go for IT. So if you have experience in IT, I think that those tend to get funding with less questions asked than gardening product or something like that. Although gardening products are also up. A very important question, which we probably should have started, is: are you still offering this service to new companies in Latvia, or you are more like went up to a bigger companies? Do you also are available if someone wants to start a company to go through you?
Oh no, definitely, yes. This is what I do also. On my website I have a WhatsApp number which you can reach out to me and write, because every now and then I also register these €1 companies and just help out with the basic paperwork and e-signatures and stuff. Yes, I also help bigger companies, but the small companies also, because yes, now and more small entrepreneurs, they're filing their own paperwork, and because if you file with mistakes, then the notary is sending you back 10 things which you need to correct, and then they sometimes they even give me that form, and Davis, okay, please correct it for me. But yes, I do help also new entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I can definitely recommend, because my first company, we tried to do it ourselves, and we went to this back and forth and back and forth, and you're like, I need the company tomorrow. And then it's like 10 weeks and another, and then you bring the documents, they give you, it's much easier to have someone that helps. It can be Davis, can be someone else, but Davis is a good start. Definitely has
Yep.
worked perfectly. Andre's taking photos of Davis, so he probably needs to look good. Yeah. Okay. Cheers. Awesome. Do we have more questions here? There was a comment about Altum. David, do you have something on that one? I think it's for
Yeah.
more bigger, right?
That is for bigger, but the thing about Altum is that they ask for a personal guarantee. So if you bankrupt on the loan from Altum, you have to give a part back, and this is why it gets risky. And Altum is advertising their loans very nicely, but I haven't, because commercial loan, it's if you are just a new company which don't have any traction in the market, then it's very risky. I know that like these 90s entrepreneurs who are currently 50 years old, they tell that, hey, mortgage your family house, because if you believe in the idea, who else will believe in it? But in 90s, well, not everybody, but near everybody mortgaged their houses. But now the market is different and it's more saturated, and I would not suggest to personally guarantee any loans for your business. This is why you can reach out to business incubators or venture capitalists, and venture capitalists also, they're investors. They don't take personal guarantee. Like Altum, if we're speaking about Altum, which is the first case, they take, I don't know, 20% or something. So if you take 50,000 euros, 10,000, it would be put on your tab, which is still quite a money to risk. But for example, if you reach out to venture capitalists, if you bankrupt the company, they will not sue you. Well, they can't, because if you haven't been stealing the money, it's just normal business risk, then the personal guarantee is zero. But Altum is an option, yes, because all of these banks and Altum, because of the guarantees, they are nicer for established business who have already running business, and then they need more capital to run even more. But for new business, if you haven't even registered the company, then yeah, I don't suggest, not Altum, not banks. Maybe some venture capitalists who believe in your idea, but definitely, in my opinion, not Altum or not banks. Too risky.
At the beginning, you showed this table with the companies registered in Latvia. The number 22,000, 2,200, like 220,000. It's the number of companies in Latvia. It's quite a lot. It's like every fifth person has a company.
Yeah. I think in Latvia it was 134,000 in total.
No, maybe I mixed something, but
Yeah,
so it's a lot.
that was in year. So in month, it's about 600 to 800 new companies per month in Latvia. And people tell, okay, for a small country, that's quite a number of LLCs, because yes, that is the best how to register.
I understand. Yeah, globally, having an LLC counts as something like much more important than Latvia. But still,
Yep.
you don't have the like glass ceiling you can go through. And I think that's so amazing that you start with this really small company, but it can grow, and you don't need to do that much to change like the official.
You don't need to change nothing. Maybe capital once, and maybe statutes once, and that's it. And if you are the only founder of the company, you don't need to change anything. I know one millionaire who is like this easy BI founder, and I checked his incorporation documents. They are the very basic which you can get, and he's running millions of turnover and profit, and he doesn't need, because everything is guaranteed, and he's the only one, and it works.
Yeah, if it works, it works, right? Why make it more complicated? That's awesome. The next question I have here is which banks from Latvia are better if you want to work internationally later?
Any of these four.
Okay.
Because like Swedbank, it's the largest one because they have the most clients, and they sometimes will not ask questions, but you have to be working internationally with something that the bank does like. If it's crypto, then definitely not Swedbank, because they will close the account. But if it's just sales of services or sales of goods in a factory that you operate in, then just any of these four banks to operate internationally. Is the best thing, if you can, is to produce in Latvia and to export to West, because then it's the sweet spot, because of all the, even with the high taxes of employment, the employees cost cheaper here. If you can make the same quality goods and export to West, that is the sweet spot, and you will earn a very nice financial life. But this is very tough to do. It might sound good on paper, because it's near impossible to find a business idea or to really get into export. But one entrepreneur which I follow, it's Normans Bergs. It tells that for new business product ideas, it takes about 7 years to reach something, because
Yeah.
yeah, because first years you just learn new things and you learn how the market works, how demand works for your project, how to advertise it better, and then down the road you expand, maybe take some investment, and after 7 years you can see where you are. But if you haven't succeeded after 7 years, well, then it's a cause of depression or something. But yeah.
I also have heard like that the first company will probably fail. So the quicker you fail with it, the more you can
Yeah.
learn.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a car, like the first car gets trashed, so better like do it quicker. Okay, Andre has a question from Facebook.
Yes, the question is about the minimal, how it's called, the salary thing. Now is maybe can kind of go through it again once again. So basically, what are the kind of like, what is the limits? Maybe you can repeat. And is there any regulation, like in law, you can actually look up and then refer to it if someone asks, like, is the law written somewhere about this minimal or not paying any salary at all?
Yep. Just a second. I will share my screen. Screen 1, window, Chrome. You should see. This is the best calculator which even some of the accountants use. Yes, you see my screen. It's calculator.lv, Algs calculators.
Nice.
Yeah, so here you see, so from brutto, it is in the contract. So minimum in Latvia, it's 500 euros. So this in total with the social tax, it costs you 618. This is the total which goes out of your salary budget for the minimum salary, which is 500 in contract. But why it's 618? It's because on top of 500, the employer pays social tax, which is high. 23% from gross profit goes up to that. And then you pay from 10.5 and 20, you pay from your own pocket. Well, employer does it on behalf of you, but then you get the difference, which is 358. So if you deduct, so 618 minus 358, it's about 260. So the minimum, yes, it's about 260 in taxes and 358 as net. And about the law, there is written that it doesn't, like this law of minimum, like the law says that you have to pay a minimum salary once the turnover of the company reaches 5 minimum gross salaries. So 5 times 500 is the 2,500, which was in the presentation. That's where the 2,500 come from. That is in the law. And there's also what is in the law that in the first year of operating, this requirement of minimum salary for SIA doesn't apply. And how my accountants interpret it is that if you are working at this minimum salary, which is 500 per month, but if you divide it by 160 hours, it's about 3 hours, what was it? 3 euros per day, sorry, per hour. And if you work few hours per week, then it gets about 35 euros per month. So the absolute minimum if you work, because the law says that if you have a limited liability company, which is generating turnover, someone needs to be working there. So 0, it's not enough, and it is not legal to put 0. So my accountants, they put, I don't know, 50 euros per month that someone is working, and that's enough. And if any from the follow-up questions from Facebook, then ask. And you can use calculator. This is there. But starting from second year, if it's 5 minimum gross salaries and you reach 2,500, even if you don't have profit, you must pay a minimum salary. And if you cannot pay, then there can be a tax audit or a tax uzrēķins, how to say it, a tax.
Not a good thing, yes.
Yeah, like a tax calculation that says, hey, your turnover for the past year, it was like 30,000 euros, but didn't pay any salary. Please pay salary taxes for like 10 months. So it's 2,000 euros, and you don't have any money in the pocket in the business, and you can. So be careful with this, yeah. But that is in the law, which was not. I think it was in the iedzīvotāju ienākuma nodokļu likums. personal income tax law. But this one, like I can find, and my contacts are just name at surname.lv. So davis@student.lv. You can write me an email, and I can look it up after presentation.
Okay, great, thank you. I just wanted to say also a big thanks from Agnes for the presentation. He really enjoyed it, and I can comment. I hope I'm gonna be right, but just what I heard from my accountants. So basically, like you mentioned, these 2,500 euros per month, right? But it's only like you have to check when do you write your invoices. So maybe let's say you write your invoice on 31st of November for 2,000 euros, and the next day on December you write another 2,000 euro invoice, and it's separated months, like 2 different months. So you have to check, and then it's totally okay if the money comes, let's say 4,000 euros comes in December, but you have written the invoice in November and December, so it doesn't multiply together. So
that is true. This 2,500 is meant if all the invoices are issued in 1 month.
Yeah, you have to look, on the invoice dates and then calculate if it matches to 2,500 or maybe it's less. So if it's less, you don't have to worry, which is nice. Yeah. Okay. Were there any questions? Maybe Matis?
Yeah, before Matis is looking for question, I have had this question from friends. So what happens, yes, if I issue an invoice in December and it's paid in May, when does it count as turnover? It counts as turnover in December. So this is why also the 2,500. If you're close to that range, yes, don't write it all in 1 month, separate it all. But hopefully your business is going well and you earn maybe 3,000 every month, then you must account for the minimum salary in each of the months. But this is the problem of earning more money. As an entrepreneur, you're worried about making more money. Maybe you need to work less, but this is like the normal thing which you can do. Whereas if you work as an employee, you know that your salary for most of the people who are not working, I don't know, for some percentage of the enterprise, it's always fixed. But as an entrepreneur, you can always, well, at least try to increase the net profit and try to increase the dividend, so that in order you make more, and if you make more, you have also more money to pay taxes. And the minimum taxes in Latvia, that's not high. And you also get at least some guarantee if something goes wrong. My gross salary, it's 501 euro. It's slightly above the minimum, and everything else I take out as a dividend. Yes.
Yeah, actually, I have had friends who, like this tax agency calls them and says that your average salary is not resembling the field you are working in. You should pay yourself more or something like that. But regarding that, I don't know how it is with the new law. But for example, if I'm employing my own company, and like I know I need to pay taxes for my wage, but I would probably rather keep the wage itself in the company. Like maybe I need to pay some invoices, etc. Is it okay if I only pay the tax to the government, but I don't pay the wage itself? So when you show this example of 500 euros, I would pay like two something to all the places where it needs to go, but I don't pay the 386 to myself.
Yes, but that's, well, not smart, kind of.
Yeah, I know it's not smart, but sometimes you need more money in your company, not in your personal pocket.
Okay, nice.
Usually
yes,
you
even salary. Yes, even salary. That's nice. Yes, you can do that, but you have to pay this minimum tax, which is about 260, 80 approximately. And if you don't pay the net salary, it will be counted as a debt of salary to employees, which will be on the balance sheet, and that is not taxed anymore. If you pay that out and dividend, you would pay 20% on top of that. But if you have stacked up these 300, I have the slide here, 358 every month, then
then I can accumulate debt to myself, and then at some point when I want, I can cash out without.
Yeah, definitely, and you should.
That's a great idea. Nice.
Yeah, because some of entrepreneurs, they have asked me, so I just pay the minimum tax and everything else is dividend. I tell no, you pay the salary as well, because that has already been accounted for, and you can pay it out of the company. Whereas just to pay this incredible 20% from net profit, but you have already paid tax on salary, and you must pay the salary out. Yep.
Okay, yeah. So then sometimes you have several companies, and then being employed in all of them is a bit of a hassle.
Yeah.
So the classic Latvian life. Anyhow, about the banks, yeah. In my experience, I have tried with a small company being in Swedbank and SEB I think I don't remember if I have tried Luminor, but the experience with Swedbank has been, yeah, there are more checks and also people who have started companies, my friends. And SEB Bank is kind of a quicker, like they quick reply quicker, and you less rows sometimes. Like you can feel that there are probably not that much people waiting in line when you call them, but money gets quicker processed usually through Swedbank. Like if you write an invoice, at least in my experience, it's usually like it's the same day transfer with SEB Bank. If you write an invoice in the evening, sometimes it comes tomorrow. So if you need to quickly do something, I have had some issues with SEB, but it's quicker to reply if you need to get in touch with them, if that makes sense. But yeah, mostly probably it's the same. I haven't checked if they vary by cost much. Maybe you know about that. Someone is asking how much it runs to have like accounts in the bank. Or you probably said Luminor, but I don't remember which was the cheapest one for the company. If they all are good.
Swedbank.
No, Swedbank is
Cheapest,
cheapest.
Swedbank, yes, but because SEB and Citadel, they take 7 to 10 euros per month. And if you have an empty company which just runs out, you will spend 120 euros per year just on an empty company for the bank account, which is, well, it kind of accumulate, but still like the normal Citadel, it was like 10 euros per month. And on top of that, there's the transaction fee, I don't know, 50 cents or 30 cents, but that's it. Yeah, and well, the cheapest it's Swedbank because I think it was per month 2 euros 50 cents or something, but it's the matter of preferences because if you like 7 euros, it's not that much of a business difference where you can
Yeah.
base decisions upon.
I have a quick hack. In the first year, if you don't need the company card, you just have the transactions online. You can just skip the card and save like 2 euros or some few euros each month or a year, because then only you pay for the account, not the also card. Yeah, in Swedbank.
Yeah, the thing, if you want to buy something off like Amazon and stuff for your company, then it's really hard to do it without a bank card. So yeah, if you just want to buy stuff in Latvia where you can get an invoice, it's easy. But if you want to buy something with a bank card, that's a bit harder. Another question is, this is a good one. So basically, maybe you answered it in the talk, but maybe we got there a quick over. So writing an invoice to clients outside Latvia, so for example, to the West, if you have this $1 company, can you do it? How can you do it, or you can't do it? You need this large.
Yeah, that's straightforward because, well, SIA, it's still the same, even if you have €1 company or 2,800 company, it is still an LLC and it doesn't matter. I don't know, in my experience, no one has checked, for example, Lursoft and saw that your company has €1 capital and doesn't have and hasn't paid an invoice. They still trust you and they buy your services and they pay. The issue is that if you sell services to outside companies outside Latvia, then suggest that you sell them outside the EU, then there's no VAT. We didn't talk about VAT because that's quite a different topic. But if you sell services outside the EU with the €1 company, there's no problem without any limit. You can sell even 1 million, because if you see the milestone, this limit for VAT, it's normal 40,000 euros per any 12-month period if you look it up, but it doesn't apply if you sell services outside the EU. And I think that we're talking about services here.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you can issue invoices easily, but be careful when you issue invoices to European Union clients, even Lithuania. Both parties must have a VAT number, and this is a headache. And accountants tell this as well, because until European Commission changes it, both parties must have VAT, but the VAT is zero charge. It's so-called reverse charge, 0%, where all the parties accounted for. So if you have international clients, you must register for VAT. I have had experience with my friends who have two entities, one or two companies, or one physical or one company, that you have a VAT and not. So VAT you issue for international clients, and with Latvia or outside the EU, you issue without VAT. But there's no problem. And well, my suggestion and my wish is that you get more clients outside Latvia, especially to the West and outside the EU.
So just to reiterate, you don't need to have this 2000 something company
no
to
need.
be. Okay, you just need to apply. So when you apply, they will do they ask like, okay, they have asked questions for people I have worked with usually, like you need to meet some criteria. So how hard is getting this VAT number? Maybe a really quick answer.
If you have a contract, then it's not. Then it's straightforward. You have to file a form. Well, accountants normally help file it, but tax office will ask for a scanned accounting services agreement and the bank contract as well. And you must write the partner on the tax application form, and then you get the VAT number in about 2 weeks.
So the company you're doing business with, for example.
Yeah.
Okay.
The tax office might ask for a contract, and in Latvian language, if you have international clients, that is the contract which you should have at least in Latvian or like Latvian English or Latvian Russian or whatever.
So a little bit of hassle,
but
not that.
Matis, if you have this VAT, Latvian PVN, then your prices will go up and some of your clients won't like it. If you're a small company, then you have to put the VAT on top of your prices.
Yeah, I think we will continue talking about VAT a bit because
it's going to be different meetup. Maybe.
We can do it even here, but I will just have a question from Edgar's and then we can return to the VAT topics because they are important. Yeah.
Hello.
Hi, Edgar.
The first brave person who's ready to ask a question in person. Very good.
I just wanted to say thanks to Davis, not only for the presentation, but for everything he's done for me. He set up my company a year ago.
I did.
Is this paid commercial?
We don't talk about it, but Davis, we have to be for a beer again sometime probably, because maybe you mentioned this in the presentation. I wasn't here in the beginning. I wanted to know a bit more about the process of, like I have my micro uzņēmums and I have to switch to the big company soon, to the LLC, without the micro tax. And yes, the process, how it goes, maybe you can explain a bit better.
This is a good one, yes, because now the micro enterprise is going away from LLCs. So if you have already an LLC, the micro enterprise tax form, it will go off by default on 1st of January. So if you Edgars don't do anything, it will cut off on 1st of January. So you will have a normal company, but you can file an application form on the tax office to get it canceled from October 1st. So if you do it now, I think we haven't yet missed the deadline, because sometimes the deadline is 2 weeks before, but you can also file it on the tax platform if you don't want to do it in October. I don't know how your Q4 of 2021 looks, but you could just use this to the end and then do nothing. And from the 1st of January, you should go to a full LLC, and then you can optimize what I had in slides. And I think I will share the slides, and you can write me an email. Like I do the slides that you can go.
We also have an inside group for participants. We can share it there as well.
Yeah. Also, the recording is on Facebook. Everything everyone asks is now public recording. So
yeah,
that's also true. Perfect. So, Edgar, do you have any follow-up question, or was it good for you?
That's okay. I will have to research this a bit more and still have to get finished with the year 2020 taxes.
Oh yeah, don't remind us.
Yeah, the deadline is a bit fast. Yeah,
but yeah, a bit late already. I hope it's gonna be fine.
It should be all right.
Now, like the general suggestion is that if you run a company with the full regime, which is starting like next year, if you have a company, at the first few months, sit down few hours per month with an accountant, and they will tell you everything. And you can also use that data in my presentation, because some of the accountants, they are scared of dividends, they're scared of loans to shareholders, they're scared of extraordinary dividends. But if you give them the presentation and the basis, then you can teach accountants sometimes, because they're scared. But then that is okay if you pay yourself a minimum salary and the rest is dividend, because you don't pay tax if you spend money from the company. So this 20%, that is from profit. So if you have 10,000 income and 8,000 expenses, if it's company car or not, you would only pay 20% on these 2,000, which is great. Whereas in micro enterprise, you would pay 25 from all.
Anna has a question.
Okay, so you said, yeah, it's actually me. Wow, what a surprise.
Way to sneak in, way to sneak in.
So you mentioned that the hardest part about being an LLC is always making money. Is that only so that you can cover the taxes and all the fees?
Well,
or is there something else that I'm missing?
Like, that is the primary thing of a business, to make money, well, and to help the world, but to make money. And if you have clients who pay you money, then everything else is secondary. All the taxes and expenses and the dividends and everything, yes, because if you have money that comes inside the company, one of the entrepreneurs which was going to the business incubator, he told that it is even cheaper sometimes to pay state tax fees and these penalties than by doing everything legally. So if you have a money coming inside the company, you can pay fees. I have also been recently paid the fee to the tax office, but I made more money with the ways I was doing something differently. So if you have a business which earns money, you can account for these 20% plus 2,280 per month, and everything else is a piece of cake. The only hard thing is that if you lose clients, if your competition gets quicker, if there's a crisis in the market, if something goes wrong, then you lose the business and you need to find a job. But if you have money which comes inside the company on a recurring basis, then everything else, I would like to say, is secondary. And you don't have to worry about taxes. You will have money to pay for it.
So
I will have money to, if I have business, the money that I pay for taxes won't be coming out of my pocket, and I'm basically safe that way. So that's basically the summary,
yeah, well,
right?
Don't go bankrupt. Because if you
well, that's not a problem. So, but let's say if I had like 100,000 in my company, right? And so, and I wasn't getting any clients for like a year or a few years, then it's not a problem either, right? I would always have money.
Yes, if you have saved, yes, that is okay. In that case, if you have saved money and if you don't need to pay yourself a dividend to run your everyday expenses, then of course. But the problem is like saving 100,000 euros at your company, of course.
For most people, the biggest problem is getting. For the people who have 100,000 euros, the biggest problem is how to keep them, probably.
Yeah.
Different problems for different people. Very popular question is like.
I have another question, by the way, if I can.
Okay.
So there was probably a detail that I missed. So it's about the corporate income tax. So in the presentation, it says that corporate income tax on the net profit is 0 if you don't distribute it as dividends. And so the thing that I missed is probably, why would I distribute it as dividends then?
Yeah, because well, you need money as a shareholder to pay. For example, if you have a small business and if you have any money else, you normally pay dividend to distribute it. I don't know, you need 1,000, 2,000 euros per month just to everyday expenses. So you would pay that from your business as a dividend. And if you like how wealthy Estonians do it, and they have been doing that for 15 years, they pay out 100,000 per year as dividend, and everything else, all the millions, they leave inside the company. So you pay out only what you need to cover your expenses and, I don't know, private car or something, and then everything else you leave inside the company. And this is that. Yes, if you don't need money, and if that is your company, you don't pay dividends out. And if you check annual reports for some of the millionaires of the projects, you can see that the corporate income tax paid in some of the years is 0. So they don't pay any tax, but they also haven't paid any dividends. So it means that the shareholder is wealthy enough to leave the money inside the company.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so basically, so this is a thing. So yeah, I'm probably sounding very inexperienced now, but the thing is, so I thought that if you wanted to get like outside the company, that you kind of like pay it as a like CEO salary or something like that. But you can also do that with dividends.
Yeah, with dividends, it's much more efficient because you don't pay the full 47% tax.
It's kind of like salary, but it's not salary. Yeah, similar.
They both are paying out, but just different ways. One is from profits, one is for work.
Thank you. That clears things up.
So maybe helped you, Darius. You had to talk so much, reiterating. So follow-up question, because what probably Elias also wants to know. When you watch YouTube videos, a lot of time you see these gag videos. I made this video for tax write-off, right? And so some people think like, oh, it's getting stuff for free or something. And basically you can buy equipment and a lot of things for your company that you need to do business with. So the usual question is, where is the line? Who checks that you actually need it for your company? Do you need to make a YouTube video? Do you need to post a Facebook photo on your company page that you are using it, or what are the normal ways of using equipment for your company?
Yeah, technically you can write off a lot of things. How my accountant put it, it depends on the company business activity, what you're doing. For example, food is something that Latvia tax office hates. And if
yeah, I know. We tried.
Yeah, you cannot write off food. Well, you can technically write off 5% of last year's gross salaries, but that's a detail. But normally you cannot. But if you are a trading company who sells groceries, you can write off all of the food and all of the VAT. So then it depends. And yes, if you are a if you are a YouTube influencer or a YouTube video specialist, then technically you could write off 10 iPhones just by, I don't know, making them in a circle. And the line, it's, well, it is trivial. Well, it's not arbitrary, but it's flexible.
It's the interpretation, right? The person who will be checking your accounts, it's their interpretation, and then you can explain. But when you start explaining, it usually is better get lawyers involved.
Yeah.
Someone told me, you don't talk with tax agency, never.
No.
Don't explain them anything. Yeah, that's true.
No, but yes, that is in case if you write off professionally very many VAT off, because if you don't write the VAT off, then no one will be checking, and the government will be happy that you have not claimed back the VAT. But the algorithms for Latvia, they're very advanced. Latvia is small, and tax office or everything runs now through the electronic declaration system, and they have very smart algorithms. If you run outside the norms, they see, for example, you have 20,000 net profit. Sorry, you have, I don't know, 25,000 net, 25,000 turnover, but your net profit, it's, I don't know, €2. Then they will say, hey, so did everything go out as expenses? Oh, you have written off VAT off. So maybe let's ask question to this entrepreneur. If you don't write off and you have a healthy amount of net profit, then no one will ask, because tax office doesn't have time to ask the questions. In this sense, there's a suggestion to keep your legal address in the region of Riga, because then your corresponding tax office, it will be Riga's tax office, and tax office cannot have the capacity to go through all of the entrepreneurs. Whereas, for example, in Liepāja, they have been asking entrepreneurs, in order, for example, to get a VAT number before pandemic, you had to go in person to the Liepāja tax office. Whereas in Riga, you can just answer questions in personally. Yeah. But the law, it's flexible. Just keep a healthy amount, and if you just write off all of the recurring, like there's a net profit and there's gross profit in the annual report, and then there's net profit. So if you write off all of your gross profit, then tax office would, they will ask questions, and you need to, and especially if you have a VAT number and if you claimed it back, you have to answer the question. So why did you buy so many, I don't know, iPhones or video cameras, or yeah.
Okay, great. So
okay, so okay, yeah.
I want those cameras and iPhones.
all right. So if I buy something basically with a like company's bank account, right? So does it automatically count as an expense, or like does it have to be like, you know, kind of, I don't know, like addressed somewhere?
Yeah, normally it counts, well, the accountants anyway go through all of the invoices, so they check, and they can ask questions. So was this a business expense or not? Because people have been using their business accounts also for personal expenses, and then it goes under dividends. This is dividend equivalent expenses. So then you would still have to pay corporate tax on that. And be careful, if you calculate it from the other way around, then the corporate income tax, it's 25% from dividends. So if you pay €1,000 net out, the tax, it won't be 200, it will be 250. It's in total 1,250, and 20% from that is 250. But accountants go through and then they can go and ask questions. By default, for example, my accountants as well, they account all of the expenses as business expense, and I don't need to pay corporate income tax on those. But many cases, the accountants don't agree, and they change your mind that that is not a business expense, that is a personal expense, then it will be counted as net profit. And if you have losses in your company's next business year, then it will be counted as a net salary, and then you would pay 80% of that expense as tax. So be careful. Yes, you only get to pay this 25% if you have a net profit in the end of the year, then you can pay 25%. Normally everything goes out as business expense.
Okay, and maybe I kind of have a funny question.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, since we are kind of moving to the end, I guess we can go through some mean questions too. So I got this like business debit card from Swedbank, right? Which I haven't used yet, and I really can't imagine any like uses for it because everything I buy or receive just goes through invoices. So like what would happen if I went grocery shopping with it? Like I'm just being curious. I'm not gonna do that, but
that's okay for a question, because it still shows on your company's bank account as an expense. So accountants will show, for example, you went to the grocery shopping for 100 euros, at least once per year, accountants will ask, okay, where is the receipt for these 100 euros? This is this beginner's mistake that you lose receipts and invoices because once per year you give your whole Swedbank transaction report as PDF and as an XML to the accountants, and they check every transaction. That is crazy. And I don't like that, but that's the way the things are there. And they check. So if you don't have a receipt, the accountants will tell, hey, there's a missing receipt or a missing invoice for 100 euros. And then they check that receipt, and then they see that it's groceries. Then they will count it as an effective dividend payment, and you would have to pay 25 euro tax on that.
Okay, this is actually so pretty important. So if I have like, all I have is like if like I go shopping on like grocery shopping in Rimi, and they give me that, receipt, which is like the paper, like a physical receipt, right? So I basically have to keep that. I can't just throw it away.
Of course, yes. This is you have to keep it and better photograph it as well.
I need to find some stuff out for my friend.
Elias goes to his garbage looking for receipts.
In this very hypothetical question.
Also for small, like if it's 5 euros, still take the receipt, take a photo. I usually send the photo and the physical receipt to my accountant.
Actually, there is a very good point. What was the limit, Davis? I think at over some 30 or 40 euros, you need to actually put your company details on the receipt, right?
Yeah, this one I don't remember by heart because I have it in my email. I paid corporate income tax on all of the receipts which I lost. It was in 2019, yes. And I paid, I don't know what was the tax, but I paid tax because if I lost the receipts and they were counted as dividends. And on some of the receipts, I didn't put my company details on because the previous accountant, she was more relaxed, and she would allow me.
I
like,
know the one you mean.
I think I know.
They felt that.
Yeah. So the limit was there. You can ask the accountants because once you start the company, you still once there are operations going through the company, you should still consult an accountant, and you can ask this question. This I don't remember. I think it was 29 plus VAT. But this is my email.
Yeah, I would agree. Like if you see that you're buying something for 10 euros, you can just take the receipt. But if you realize 30, 40 euros, at the Rimi also you have to ask. So they write in your company like SIA, so on. So it will look more like an invoice in the end. Then it's super good, and your accountant will be very happy that you added.
You usually see it like there's a line. It's going pretty quickly in Statoil, for example, and then someone comes and like, I need that, and the person, the accountant is like, oh, so someone just asked for that.
Yeah, the cashiers do it manually, letter by letter, like slowly typing it in.
So if you are shopping during rush hour, it can be a problem. But a lot of companies in Latvia have these company, like you register once. For example, we did a lot of construction last year. So we registered at Depot, Xenokai, and all these Latvian construction shops. And basically after that, it's like you need to provide the details only first time. Next time you just show the card and they do it automatically.
Yep.
Okay, so I have a follow-up question. Since we started talking about like not losing any invoices and stuff like that, what would be the best way? Like what's the best place to kind of keep track of all the invoices? So personally, I use OneDrive cloud storage, and it just basically just syncs everything. So that kind of works for me. Is there something better or like?
You need to keep the physical ones, unfortunately. Only photos don't work.
No, this is new. I can share, yeah.
But OneDrive is good because then you know that it's always at least in one place.
Well, it probably depends on accountant, but as I have heard, like if you look actually, and if there is at any point like knock an audit, then only the photos probably will not measure up.
This one I can share. I have with my accountant now, which is the main one. I have a WhatsApp exchange of this, of electronic document saving, and if it's a PDF which can be copied out and without losing quality, and if it's how to say in law, if it's protected by password, then you can throw out the receipts and originals, and you don't need them.
Oh, please tell the whole way how you are doing it. We are extremely interested.
Yes, and then you can, for example, I use Dropbox as my cloud, and I have a Dropbox application. I scan receipts and invoices, and I just put them every month in. And my accounting is monthly, and I hate going through the bank account and to account and rewrite everything, but that's how the accounting goes, and that's how you don't lose all of the receipts, because you go through your whole Swedbank bank account, which is my main bank account, and then I just check all of the receipts, and if I have purchases, then I scan them and put them up on Dropbox. OneDrive is okay, but you have to, at least on the computer, if anyone comes, it must be password protected, but you can throw receipts out. That's okay, but they must.
So then Elias, you need to use your personal OneDrive, and there is this vault, and that's basically what would legally qualify as password protected.
Oh, that's very important, because I kept it in my business OneDrive account. Thank you for mentioning that.
Also, that's a good question. Probably we need to ask it to the accountant. If the computer has a password, but the cloud.
This one, I think it's sufficient. Yeah.
Okay. It doesn't need to be encrypted. It just it makes sense. So the business account works, Elias.
I was thinking about blogging about this, and I still haven't done it, but I would blog about this. Hey, you can throw out the receipts, and then you wouldn't lose anything, because yes, this is a quite hassle. But still, like at least for a month, you can keep all of the receipts somewhere on your folder next to your table, and then once per month scan everything. So you have made a purchase, so I don't know, keep the document in your wallet or your folder, and then scan them once per month and send everything to the accountant.
We do it like every time I'm at the shop, while the cashier is going through the products or anything else, we just take the picture immediately. But I suppose you need to actually scan it like a PDF. It doesn't, well, we use the scan to PDF app on the phone, so it's still a PDF, but oh damn, it's technical. But yeah, it really works well, because you can just quickly take a picture and you don't need to do it at the end of the month. You just have one place where they all go.
Yep.
So yeah, let's hope it works.
Yep, it does, yeah.
Yeah, funny story. If you go hiking after that and your receipts are in wallet, it's raining, they might disappear. So sometimes it's very crucial to scan it in the same day.
Yeah, this is because of the environment saving and of printing of receipts. It was changed so that the ink on the receipt, it's very environmentally friendly, but it also loses the ink very quickly. Previously, I was lazy and I made annual reports once per year. I didn't have that much transactions, so I collected everything, and then I scanned everything once per year, which was sometimes even 1.5 year old receipts, and they were barely visible. This is a detail.
Yeah, well, lots of fun stuff you learn when you run a company. Okay, I have 2 questions left here. I think it's also like we have 10 minutes left roughly. So if anyone has an extra question, you will have one last chance to ask them after that, probably, because we will try to stay on schedule. Those who are on place could try to hunt Davis down before he leaves and ask a personal question. But for you who are online, then if there is enough interest, we might maybe make another one at some point if he isn't too tired from this one.
No, it's
so,
okay.
Maybe about VAT. So the one, it's quite hypothetical, but you said that in Latvia, it's comparatively a large percentage of the tax goes to employment tax. So would it be smart to hire people abroad?
That's quite a question.
For the next meetup.
Yeah. No, well, you can look at the total amount of money which goes out. I know that for senior software developers, some of Latvian companies, they're hiring Poland citizens. So in total, it's cheaper in Latvia because they cannot hire in Latvia. All of the senior software developers, they have jobs or they don't want to leave jobs. So that you technically could have many thousands to pay them, but they're not there. So you can also hire from abroad or hire freelancers. But no, I would suggest that if you contact your employees or give them shares or options, you can also hire Latvian employees.
Okay.
Like you can check the total sum of money which goes out through your account because, well, if you can find Ukrainians which can work for you, great. But the tough part is to hire and find Ukrainians that you can trust.
I suppose. So yeah, that's great. And the next question is, it's also quite interesting. So basically, it's probably from someone's experience. Is there enough accountants in Latvia? So a lot of accountants apparently have said that they already have too many clients. Like when you ask about friends, and those friends usually say like, yeah, we have an accountant, but the accountant is already full. Like she can't or he can't take up more clients. So are they just unlucky, or it's normal that Latvian accountants are pretty overworked?
Yeah, there was the legalization change that the accountants, they're waiting for licensing, and previously accountants didn't have to have a bachelor's degree, and now they have, at least some of the company. And also the thing is that if you hire an accountant who is a one-man army or a one-woman army, and these accountants, they're all overloaded now with tasks, and it has much of things to check, and then there are more entrepreneurs. But if you hire an accounting services company which has many employees, which has separated tasks, one is salary accountant, one it's, I don't know, debtors accountant, creditors accountant, then you can actually find accountants. But also prices have been going up for accountants. Like
yeah, I've heard.
Yeah, my accountants now, they charge 60 euros plus 1.2 per transaction plus 10 euros per employee and plus twice the average for an annual report. But at least that is fair for the amount of work that they're doing. I don't know, new employees that see a companies, they want just quickly to get over the accounting. But well, what I can suggest is that for young companies, if you have 2 invoices per month, and 2 receipts maybe, then you technically can wait until the annual report and then just pay an accountant 100 or 150 euros for the whole year's annual report, and that's it.
Okay, great. So yeah, we are also looking at some companies, but the offers came in pretty high. Like there was like 300 euros a month and stuff, and that's a little bit too much. As I have heard from private accountants, so the prices have sort of doubled. Like it's the 60 euros a month is actually quite good, I think, for current market.
Oh yes, I can give details.
Yeah, okay, great.
In chat, it's like birais at accountinglatvia.lv. I think it was.
Awesome. Yeah, you can type it in the chat. And I think that's from my questions that were submitted is everything. Do we have anything from people who are online here? Or maybe Andre will check the Facebook comments if we have anything.
While you're checking, I have one question. Not sure, like, if I would open company, like, let's say tomorrow, I'm one person and I'm gonna pay €1 of this capital, how much is gonna cost? Like, I couldn't, like, get, like, is it this 20 euros or is it more? Because I paid, I think, 70 lats or euros when I opened my company with 2 euros, something like that.
Yeah, the state fees, it is 20 euros, and then it depends on the, I don't know, the document preparer. If you prepare your own documents, then it's free. And if you have, for example, my help, now I charge 99 plus VAT. And this is, yeah, so it's in total, it's including all of the e-signature help, it's document submission, help with legal address, because now you have to declare the legal address and of the cadastro and everything, so you can forget about all the paperwork for 99 plus VAT. And then it depends, because some of the accountants, if you close a contract for a year, then they offer you a free of charge document for formation. But it depends, because technically you could try to register the company on your own, so you can just open a company for 20 euros. And then it's after you open the company with 20 euros, you have €1 cash on the table. Then you open the business bank account after opening the company. Once your company is on Lorsoft, then bank opens the account, and then you pay this €1 to the company's account, and you can write that account on Invoice and start operating, which is great.
So this actually brings a quick extending question. So a lot of people apparently have this problem of coming up with 2,000 euros if they already have a company. So are there any workarounds, or you just need to, like, can you use the company like assets or something like that, or you need? I have heard that you need an evaluation. An evaluation costs more than 2,000, and like, but what's the talk on that? Like, what's the is there any other solutions?
Yeah, first way is that at least half of that needs to be paid in cash. So technically you can pay, and it would be visible on all the registers, that the paid capital is 1,400, and the rest it's unpaid, and the rest needs to be paid within 1 year. That is an option. So it's the paid 1,400 and registered 2,800. And the other way is that you can pay up to 50% in assets. Yeah, how to tell it, because then you don't need an appraiser. If it's more than a half, then you need appraiser, and then then you can do it for big machinery and big projects. But for example, like today I finalized a paperwork which was 1,500 cash and 1,300 in iOS devices.
Very good.
And the founder just made a problem. The paperwork, it gets a bit trickier, and you have to make this valuation on your own, but you can file it on your own, yes, because if you already have a company and you start a second company, then the minimum registered capital is 2,800, but you can do it in 50-50. Or if no other option, then you can pay only 1,400, but that needs to be paid in cash. So you might as well find some assets to go and top it up to 2,800.
Another option, I guess, would be to use your existing company, that is this €1 company, and try to convert that to full company, and then you regain your power up of getting a new company with €1,
Yep.
or it doesn't.
Yeah, this is also help, but you need to increase the capital from reserves. Either you will have a loan of shareholders to that €1 company, which is existing, if you don't have any liabilities, because you have to have reserves like 2,799 to be able to increase from 1 to 2,800. And then there's quite some paperwork, and it also will be about 150 euros in fees just to make all this capital increase, because accountants, they don't like to do a capital increase, and with all the fees, it's about 110 euros or something. But you can do that as well.
But I still need to like pay something, or if I have a company, there's like let's say 3,000 euros in the bank account at that point, then I just write my accountant, hey, here's 100 euros for you, and please make my company now a full company.
Yeah, if the accountant knows how to do it, then yes, you can do it, because there's 7 or 8 documents with that you need to file just to increase the capital. Yeah,
this is good, because my accountant said that basically, hey, yeah, you can do that, but you need to pay something in cash and then bring me the receipt, and I will kind of make it company like in this reserve.
No, you can do it from reserves. Yeah, you can pay as additional cash as well, that the shareholder pays money to private bank account and put that as receipt, but you can also increase the capital from reserves. And my accountants interpret that from this 2,800, I don't need to pay corporate income tax. So it's always better to first register a company with €1 and then top it up to 2,800. Some of the lawyers that I've been talking with, they don't agree, but my accountants, they tell, hey, that is a reserve, so it's until you take it out. When you close the company, you don't pay corporate income tax on that.
Okay, great. Fine, you wrote the email, very good.
Yeah.
Perfect. So yeah, I had the feeling that that's the thing, you guys will come over. It's great that we had this meetup, but each accountant, especially these one-man army accountants, have different interpretations, and probably the higher you go, the more standardized the answers get. But still, it's sometimes also a resource question: is the accountant actually like trained in doing some of these transfers? So yes, accountants are important, and that's the feedback from this. So yeah, well, do we have the closing question? If not, then we can do a quick feedback circle. Let's do that. And then if you have a question at the feedback circle, yeah, you probably we don't have to.
We can go. There's like 10 people. We can go alphabetically.
Yeah, exactly. So we just say one thing you learned today that you didn't know before, or that you just found super useful, or maybe remembered. And let's go that it should be a unique thing that you learned, and like if someone else says it will not be interesting. So I will start, and then I will go to the list.
I will go through the alphabetical list because then it's easier. So I'm the first one, and for me the most interesting was the calculator. I didn't know, like I knew you can calculate your salaries and so on, but I will definitely use the calculator in near future, I hope.
Okay.
And the next one after me is Mattis, and then Davis Jansons.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, Andre usually is very good at doing this. So
I have practice.
So for me, it was really valuable to know that you actually can do the capital or reserve increase through the company funds, because it really, like, you don't really want to like pay out yourself a dividend and then put it back in the company. It's not a pretty fun thing to do. So this is awesome. Oh yeah, Davi, you're next if you're still there.
Yeah. Oh, for me, it's probably so I'm quite new for all these company things. So the thing that was interesting to me, it seems that it's not that hard as I thought it would be at the start.
We told you, Davi. So happy to hear. Okay.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but it's nice that someone explains it from A to Z. Okay, then Elias, and then Jan is after Elias. Hi.
Okay, so
yeah, sure.
There are a few things that I learned. I guess the most important one actually came from the stupid question that I asked, which was, which the answer to that was, basically keep all your physical receipts, or like all kinds of invoices and receipts, keep them, because if I didn't know that and I did that, I might, it might cost me a lot to kind of learn that lesson. So thank you for that.
Yeah, that's a good one.
You're welcome.
Also, stupid question should be a permanent part of every meetup from now on. Like.
Awesome. Jan is joined a bit later, but you can still have your feedback, and after that, Kaspers can write something in, and Laura is after that. Yeah, I think maybe Jan is. Yeah, he has a microphone. Hi.
Hello, everybody. From what I've learned so far from this discussion, I understand that accountants are everything. So cheers to the accountants.
Yeah, this is golden, yes. And Kasper says to everyone that it's easier than he thought, which is very cool. Okay, is there anything that Laura wants to say?
Yeah, I learned that something that it is you have to open your company in January, the first step.
Yeah.
Then another is that you have to get very loyal and very smart accountant. And there was third thing, about these websites. These are very useful, and I learned that there are a lot of things to explore and to check up still.
Yeah. That's very awesome. We will also put the information in our Facebook group chat, which is C2D team. And thanks. And I think it's Marks and Anna. You can both answer if you're still at the microphone. Marks? Anna, it's your microphone is yours.
Elias is here currently. Basically, today I learned a lot, and I have to process this kind of information. I can't say that there was like this one piece of information that stands out, but because like everything here stands out, at least for now.
Okay. So everything was useful, which is very, very cool.
Yeah.
Watch it on repeat after.
Yep.
Probably on several repeats.
Several times. Okay.
Okay, then I will just lastly say that I learned that you can basically make a company with 20 euros. And I think that's pretty cool because I thought it was like way more expensive than that.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Then maybe Davis has some also feedback or some closing words. Hi, David. Yeah.
My Davis.
Yes, you are also.
Yeah.
There's feedback from the mic.
Did you learn anything valuable today?
Yeah.
There's the mic feedback.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Only we can hear it, but yeah.
Okay, because I thought that everybody hears that.
No.
It's like the general suggestion is that make something or provide something that people need, because many entrepreneurs, they think, what I can make, and then people will buy. But then it goes from the other way around. What people need that I can provide. In the supply and demand side, the supply is first. Sorry, demand is first. In many of the entrepreneurs, they think, okay, so I don't want to work in agency anymore. I want to start the business. What can I do? But in the end, you should check for what is demanded, and then I can supply. Because my goal of life also wasn't to create 143 companies in 2019, but it was very demanded, and I speak English, and I competed with law offices who charge way more, and I do about the same thing, and I can speak English. So then I find the niche, which is a very interesting niche, but still, I checked the supply side, because demand was there, and I was flexible. And it is harder for entrepreneurs who are set in stone of the things that they can do. Try to be more flexible and check what the market needs. And there's a quote from one of the guests at the Business Incubator, is to kill your ego. I know it's very tough for architects to kill their ego. He also mentioned this. Yeah, impossible. He mentioned the case when he was a designer. He was invited to a big architect meeting. 5 parties were there, and it says that all of the architects got their own ego about how the process should go. So it's easier. So if you kill your ego and supply what the market needs, then it's much easier, and you can actually make a living out.
Yeah, it's such a good advice. Like I always look at Amazon, like they are so rich, right? But actually what they are doing, it's like they are helping me. Like I don't need to go to a shop. I can just like be like a little baby and like, I want this, I want that, to bring it to me, right? And then they are just, yeah, no problem, I will bring it to you. So that's what the company does. It just makes your life a little bit easier, or someone else's life, and get paid in return. So that's a really great advice. Thank you for being here. We will definitely invite you again if you will come. And,
on a different topics.
Yes, definitely. There's a lot of branches to companies, right? And maybe actually we can next time do a little bit about like the companies. If you want to just make a world a better place, there are some ways how you can do that while still being legal and not having to ask people to pay you in cash always. So maybe that. But the closing statement for me would be, like I think having a company is in some ways maybe like having a passport. It just opens you some doors, gives you some opportunities. Like if of course it does cost a little bit, but it's good to be a person that has a passport and can vote and can travel, and in this way the company allows you to navigate corporate world a lot easier and better. Like sometimes if you have a good relationship, companies will ship you products even before you pay them, because they know that the invoice is actual real statement that you can bring it to court, right? And then no one will bring you stuff for free. If you are just a person, usually you need to pay before having them eat them delivered. Anyhow, thank you everyone. See you next time, and applause to Davis. Cheers.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah.
Thank you.